Hello to all the cloud enthusiasts. How are you all doing? I hope that you all are at the best of your health, wealth, and I hope that you guys are studying, understanding the cloud technology, be it either through my channel or through any other channel. And I hope that you guys are becoming a better version of yourself than you were yesterday. Alright guys, so today we are going to focus on one of the AWS services, and trust me guys, this is one of my favorite services because it is very easy to use. We will see how to use that at the end, almost at the end of this tutorial video that we have. And it is a very easygoing, as I said, serverless services offered by Amazon. And I think by now you might have guessed what this services is. If you have, then you're on the right path guys. But before we do, there's a quick introduction about me. Hi guys, my name is Tejas Mahendrakar. I'm the cloud simplifier, which means that I simplify the cloud jargons for you and I provide analogies so that you guys can understand what we are talking about here. Now the reason why I give analogies is because it is very easy for us to look at the everyday objects or everyday circumstances and then pair it or trying to understand in the cloud terms. That is the reason why I make it simple for you guys to understand how all of the services or how the jargons are in the services work. Alright, so as I said, I'm the cloud simplifier and this is my LinkedIn handle, Tejas Mahendrakar. You can search me on LinkedIn, and then this is the YouTube channel, the Cloud Minds, and if you want to connect with me on the email, this is my email address. Alright guys, let's go ahead and try to understand what is that service that we are talking about. It's the AWS Lambda. Trust me, it is one of the basic nice services. It is awesome service. I just love this service guys, and we are going to understand what this service is all about and how do we actually get the service. We are not going to talk today about how do we launch the service using Terraform or the CDK like we usually do. I'll do that in a separate video after this video because otherwise it will be too lengthy video, and that's the reason why I have separated it out into this will be purely theoretical with a bit of practical session at the end. And in the next video I'll show you how to create Lambda services using Terraform as well as AWS CLI or the AWS CDK. Cloud Development Kit guys. Alright, so let's understand, like we usually do, what is the official definition and what is the simplified definition that I try to make you all understand what the Lambda is all about. So the official statement, I'm going to read it here. The official statement on the AWS website states that AWS Lambda is a serverless computing service. Like we already discussed, it is serverless, which means that there is no underlying infrastructure that you will have to worry about. Everything will be taken care by Amazon. You just have to put your code, run it, get the output, and that's it. You just pay for whatever the amount of time that you have used Lambda for. Alright, let's go ahead and understand what Lambda is. Serverless computing services provided by AWS that allows you to run the code without provisioning or managing services, like I said. It automatically scales and manages the infrastructure needed to run the application, allowing you to focus on writing the code only without worrying about the underlying infrastructure like we already discussed. There are few limitations, there are few advantages, disadvantages. We're going to discuss all about that in this slide. But as I said, let's start with what the definitions are and then we'll try to understand more as we go ahead. Alright. The simplified definition of it is, you can think AWS Lambda as a magical service that lets you run the code without worrying about any servers or the underlying infrastructure. You just don't have to worry about it. You put your code, as I said, run it, get the output, and that's it. It's like having a personal assistant who takes care of all the background tasks like the underlying infrastructure that we're talking about, so you can focus solely on your code. Guys, just two to three videos ago, I believe 2 videos ago, I have provided a content on XaaS, which is anything as a service, and Lambda falls under function as a service, where we have discussed, and I have also shown you guys how to create the Lambda function. But don't worry, here also we'll create the similar thing, and then we'll understand how this Lambda actually works, how much time does it take to execute? It takes just few milliseconds. It's very quick. And when you get the output, how will you get the output, where will you get it, etc. We will get to know everything about it. All right. So I like to always, as I said, try to simplify things. It's, you know, kind of like, imagine you have a personal chef who prepares your meal whenever you are hungry. You just tell the chef what dish you want. I'll say I need a pizza. I don't have to worry about, you know, getting the ingredients from the market, asking him to prepare, providing him the gas and providing him all the stuff, all the utensils, etc. You don't have to worry about anything. You just have to tell the chef that I want this, and the chef will provide you like that. So the Lambda works in a similar way. You just create, or you just provide the script to the Lambda, it executes and gives you the results, and you don't have to, like I said, worry about the underlying infrastructure. Similarly, I'll just read it out for you. Similarly, AWS Lambda takes care of the server-side complexities, allowing you to serve up your code without managing the underlying infrastructure. All right. What is the serverless magic here? Let's say you have a website and where the user uploads images. Now, these, when you talk about the architecture of this, whenever somebody uploads an image, it can go into one of the buckets. For example, we have also spoken about the S3 service. Think about when you upload an image, it goes to the S3 service, and then after that the Lambda is triggered, and then the Lambda generates thumbnails of it and then stores back in the S3. These all things Lambda can be done. Like it is written here, the entire process happens without you managing the server. AWS Lambda handles the scaling. Scaling means maximizing. Whenever there is more CPU or the RAM or memory, etc. required, it automatically scales without you having to worry about it, and execution based on the number of images that are uploaded. For example, in S3 in this case. Alright guys, so let's move ahead. What are the pros of Lambda? It is the serverless architecture, as we have already spoken about. No need for you to manage the servers. AWS takes care of all the infrastructure. It is very cost efficient. The pay-as-you-go model that we have spoken about in the last video. Pay only for the compute time and the code that actually consumes. If your Lambda is just sitting there, you are not charged for it. Automatic scaling, like I said, scales seamlessly based on the number of requests. It scales automatically. Scales means moving up and increasing the number of nodes. So increasing the number of, for example, compute capacity or the memory, so it will scale automatically. You don't have to worry about it. Supports multiple programming languages, Node.js, there is Python, there are so many, I've used Java as well, so there are multiple programming languages. Integrated with AWS services, as I said, you can integrate it with S3, for example. Whenever there is an event in the S3, you can trigger the Lambda based on that event, and then Lambda gets triggered like we discussed previously. It creates the thumbnail images and then provides you the thumbnail images, guys. It is like, it's the sixth point that is written here is event driven, can be triggered by various events, enhancing its flexibility, and it is very easily integrated with many of the AWS services, guys. Right, let's move ahead. Where there are pros, obviously there are a few cons as well. Now let's understand what are the disadvantages of the Lambda. To cold start, I have not seen this actually happen, because whenever you trigger a Lambda, it's very quick in response. It responds very quickly, provides you the results very quickly. But maybe when you're triggering multiple Lambdas and there is concurrency, probably that is when there is a bit of latency that is observed. Initial latency, when a function is invoked for the first time, it takes a bit of time because it has to warm up and then it has to provide the servers, and the underlying infrastructure has to come up with the Lambda and the code execution. Probably that is when they say that there is initial latency. Lambda execution time. This is one of the disadvantages. You can consider it disadvantages or the advantage based on what your need is. The function has a maximum execution time of 15 minutes only. So any function that you run, maximum it will run for 15 minutes. If you want to run it for longer, consider using some other services, probably the Elastic Compute Cloud, the EC2 for example. That is one of the good compute services that I can think of right now, instead of using Lambda, because Lambda only executes, like I said, for just 15 minutes. It's stateless, which means it is designed for only stateless operations, not suitable, as I said, for long-running processes. Limited resources, constraints on memory, disk space, and execution. It all depends on the underlying infrastructure where the Lambda is, is provided. That's the reason why there are constraints with memories, disk space, and execution time. Debugging complexity, obviously this is one of the complexities that was there, and so debugging complexity is debugging serverless functions can be a bit of challenge. So this we had when I was working with my previous organization as well as this organization. What we usually do is we print out whenever we are in a method or whenever we are in some line of code that is being executed, we just print out so that it is provided as an execution, and in the execution tab you can see what it is that is printed out, or you can as well see in the CloudWatch logs, guys. So this is one of the complexities or the challenges that we had, and this is one of how we mitigated that challenge. All right, let's go ahead and understand how this Lambda is actually working. Alright guys, so this is the Lambda function. If you land, whenever you land on the AWS management console, you can come here and then Lambda, LAMBDA, you can search for Lambda. Whenever you get Lambda, you can open it, and when you land, when you come to the Lambda, you're actually landing on the dashboard. You just have to click on functions to get to the functions where you can create the functions, guys. Alright, so what we are doing here, we are creating a function, which means that we don't, as I said, we don't have to worry about the infrastructure part. We are just creating a function, and then the function is executed and provided us with the results. It is very quick, as you can see now. When we create the function, it is very quick to run, and it will provide the results for us. Let me give some name. For example, I'll give my Lambda function. Let me give my first Lambda function, and we'll have to choose the programming language. I'm very comfortable using Python, so I'll choose the Python here. You can either leave the architecture by default, or if you have specific needs that requires an ARM processor, you can select that. Otherwise, you can just leave it as is. Change the default execution role. Now, for example, in some companies, like in my company that I'm working on currently, you cannot create a role because that is not the role that is being associated with my account, that the provided one. So I'll have to use the existing role. But when you are just trying it out, you can say create a new role, and the new role will be created for you and in the IAM, and the Lambda can talk to the other services. That is what the role is being created. Alright guys, this will take just few seconds to launch the Lambda, and then whenever the Lambda is launched, you just have to provide the code, and then the script or the code runs and it gives you the results. Alright, so this is how the Lambda function actually looks, and this is the code that you can see here. So let's try and understand what this function is actually. So it is importing JSON because it is importing one of the libraries, because here we are providing the body and the status code as a JSON format. And this is the function, it's called the Lambda handler. Guys, this is the default Lambda handler, that is the entry point to the Lambda. So the Lambda understands whenever you provide a Lambda handler, the Lambda understands that this is the entry point where we have to start it. You can provide any if you're very good at Python, you can actually create a Python program here and then execute it. You'll understand how this Lambda actually works, but just for the demonstration purposes, I'm just going to give a print statement as hello world or welcome to Lambda or whatever. Hello from Lambda is already there. I'll just say this message is from Lambda, something like that. I'll say print this message is from Lambda, right? So that we can understand that there is a bit of differentiation already. Now, in order to test this, like we already, whatever scripts or whatever applications that we create, we always test it, we always unit test it, and this is one of the ways that has been provided here in Lambda in order for you to unit test it. We just have to configure the test event. I'll create a test event name. I'll just give it generic name. Right, my first test event, like I said, my first Lambda, and here you can change the values in order for you to do the test event. I'm not going to change any values, I'll just keep it as default, and let's see whatever it executes, is it able to provide the execution or the print statement or not. So I'll just run the test, and you can see there is the execution results tab that has come up, And you can see that the response here is status code is 200 and body has hello from Lambda. That is what was provided here in the return statement, return statement. And you can see that there are function logs of whatever we had written. This is a message from Lambda is what is the print statement that we had provided, and it has provided that print statement here. So I hope guys I was able to make justice to for you all to make understand what Lambda is all about. Now there are a lot of services in AWS. We'll slowly understand what the services are and how all of these services can be integrated in a beautiful architectural way. And we also will later at a later point see how all this can be orchestrated using either step function or Apache Airflow. You don't have to worry about all this. I'm just giving you a hint or an understanding of what is going to come next, the expectation. I'm just trying to set the expectation what is going to come next, but that will be in a near future, guys. So guys, I hope that as I said, I was able to make some justice, make you guys understand what Lambda is all about, how you can create a Lambda using the AWS Management Console and how you can run the Lambda. If you have any doubts, do not hesitate to ping me. You already have my email address. Do not forget to email me. I'll try to help you as much as possible. If you guys are stuck somewhere, do not hesitate to contact me, guys. And the last but not the least thing that I want to say is, if you have not subscribed to this channel, please consider subscribing, because the statistics say that 80 to 85% of the people who look at these videos are non-subscribers. The only request that I have is to just hit that subscribe button and you'll keep getting these kind of videos whenever I post them. Alright guys, it was really nice talking to you, and thank you for staying till the end. Like I said, thank you for staying till the end of this video for you to understand how actually Lambda works. Alright, so this is Tejas again signing off, and I wish you have a great day, great week, a great month and a great year ahead. Cheers guys.